as much as I hate internet trolls, they made a move this week that is actually pretty funny. So basically, they tricked conservatives in Houston into showing up to protect a statue of the slave-owning Sam Houston, which the city got their name from. This was fueled by a May 19th Facebook post from a group called Texas Antifa, which stands for anti-fascists, and is a fake Facebook group, okay? Now, rumors swirled that the leftist groups wanted the Sam Houston monument to be next in a line of removal of Confederate figures around the country, sparking an intensive "Don't Mess with Texas" campaign. Now, on the Antifa fake Facebook post, they said, "We're about to have a huge event in Houston, June 10th, with the combined forces of several large groups, perhaps our biggest ever. The fascists better not show up, or they will be limping home bruised, broken, hurt, and crying with their tails tucked between their legs." Anytime somebody says like, "This person better not show up," that's like when your dad was like, "No, you better not go to bed now." You know what I mean?
Like that Facebook page.
You better not eat your veggies before dessert. Like, that's basically what they're doing. Take a quick look at the Facebook post here. Now, a This Is Texas Facebook account responded, and they said their goal is to remove the Sam Houston statue. Many of these communist punks are emboldened after they lay claim to a win in New Orleans by bringing down the Confederate monuments. We invite all 3%ers, Oath Keepers, militias, Tea Partiers, liberty-loving Texans, liberty-loving Americans, open carry organizations, and anyone who loves Texas and wants to protect our sovereign soil and history to join us. And join us they did. Now, they swarmed Hermann Park early in the morning, decked in camo, leather vests, Infowars jackets, and Texas pride shirts, toting American, Texan, and Don't Tread on Me flags, stand with Sam signs, and semi-automatic rifles and snipers. There was a 40-person deep security team that patrolled the area, while the hydration team passed out water, waiting in the Texas summer heat for the enemy leftist groups to arrive. But obviously they never did, because it was completely fake and they were trolling them. Also, they kind of missed the point, saying that they were like standing up for, their Confederate leaders, because Sam Houston was never a Confederate leader. In fact, he said he didn't want to join the Confederacy. So kind of missed the point there.
Are you saying that people who go around wearing Infowars jackets don't necessarily know their history and are easily taken in by hoaxes?
I'm saying they might not know their info.
They
might actually have
too busy with the war
on info.
Yes.
So,
yeah, that's sort of embarrassing.
Yeah, it's
but they don't care. They're happy.
No, because they wrote like, "Oh, we still achieved our goal of being trolled."
To walk around with camo and a gun, I guess. Like that's their goal.
It's weird how divisive and defensive the writing got so quickly. Like, these communists think they can come over here after their win in New Orleans, and it's like, I don't think the mayor of New Orleans was being communist when he made this very well thought out declaration of why this Confederate monument should be removed. And then we get to, all of you should come stand up for America and open carry, and it's just like, it's so quickly partisan and divisive, and it doesn't need to be that way. This is an imaginary enemy. None of this is real, and it was so fast to join up arms and start a war against something that didn't exist.
Or at least want to.
Or maybe your own fears.
Well, the best part there is they did get so, like you're talking about, they got riled up so quickly, but then they were chanting about libtards and snowflakes.
Yeah.
Who's getting riled up very quickly here?
Who's a snowflake?
What?
Yeah, where's the snowflakes?
Exactly. So they're saying that these crowds gathered there. They're saying that some of the numbers might be over exaggerated because there was a nearby anti-Sharia protest, and they don't know if potentially some people got confused and didn't know where to go, so they went with this crowd. Either way, they were on the wrong side.
There's probably some overlap in the crowds at those two events. And yes, I do buy that the sorts of guys who would show up at this event would exaggerate numbers from time to time. So I told you in the production meeting, I generally think that trolling is a gigantic waste of time, and I think that humanity could accomplish a lot if we spent less time trying to emotionally instigate each other and created something. But if you're going to troll, this is okay. It's fine, saying that they're gonna try to take down this monument, I guess. But the thing is it's so believable. Like, yeah, a lot of monuments have been taken down. So I get why you would show up there. So the people who show up there don't really look that ridiculous. If you really want to troll these sorts of people, you make a fake statue for a person that never existed, put that somewhere, and then say we're going to take that down and watch them flock to defend it. That's how you make them look like idiots.
That's a good idea. Also, like, I mean, you make a good point of having these people all show up and, you know, exclaim their, you know, frustration with his
their love for Webster McDaniel.
Yeah, whatever it may be. But I think it's something else that was important that came out of this is they spent thousands of dollars on supplies to arm themselves for this. So they're, you know, removing some of the funding for these fascist.
I got news for you though. The thousands of dollars they spent to arm themselves would have otherwise been spent on funding and arming themselves, I think. So they probably don't mind buying that extra ammo.
But I mean, can you imagine being like, oh, I'm anti-fascist? Like that's so
That's a weird thing to say. It's like saying I'm a fascist.
Yeah, well, that's
fascist at
they
least.
basically. But they also one of the other I guess comments on this Facebook. This is Texas. They call themselves. I've never heard this, and maybe I'm living under a rock. Instead of alt-right, they call themselves alt-knights.
It's all the knights
of the alt-right?
What? So it's like, it's saying like, instead of sort of taking on some of the negative connotations with alt-right, they're saying, yeah, we believe in these things, but we're knights, we're the alt-knights.
Well, guess what? I'm a social justice mage, not a warrior.
I really like that. I want to see that in the future. But yeah, what I love about that is, for me, when I hear knights, if a nerd is used, like if Kim says knight, I think of an elven knight from World of Warcraft, which is cool. When right wingers use knights, I think of the KKK and I think of all those other groups. Like that doesn't really, if you're trying to avoid negative connotations, calling yourself a white knight isn't the way that you do it.
But maybe that they see that as a positive.
I'm sure maybe they do.
Maybe they do actually. They're like, oh, we can like kind of move away from this alt-right thing, but also like subliminally associate ourselves with the KKK, our true heroes.
Maybe.
I think you're on to something.
That's possible.
Either way, I mean, I really do. I mean, I think we can all attest that we hate trolls in general, but I do like this sort of like scenario, and I like kind of putting in these sorts of other ideas where we can sort of like show these people's true color. Like they didn't even look up who this person was. They didn't really know who they were defending or why they were defending it. They just thought it was sort of associated to these other Confederate. I mean, they're standing up for like slave owners and people who want to continue slavery.
Yeah.
Like at what point in history are we gonna be like, are these people gonna realize that they're on the wrong side of it?
What happens is you rationalize it to the point where it's no longer the same thing. So you'll say like, oh, it's not slavery. It's this other thing that was not as big of an issue at the time.
Yeah, and realistically, I mean, it's been, a couple hundred years at this point, probably not at all. I mean, these things can go away and then come back, like the whole Confederate flag thing. Like they think the Confederate flag has always been important to us, but it wasn't always important to them. It was important to them during and immediately after the Confederacy. Then it went away for decade after decade after decade. And then the Civil Rights Movement started. They started to feel like something was being taken away from them, and they looked for symbols, and that was one of the ones they found. And so it'll always be there. For scared people who are worried about progress, there will always be something in the past they can look to and say, that was when things were going well, that's what we need to get back to. And so the answer to the question is never. We're never gonna get away from our baser instincts.
Membership helps fund the Young Turks. You know one great thing about that? That means we're not accountable to anyone but you guys. That's why we're strong together, because we built this show around you. Come build it even bigger and better at tytnetwork.com/join.